Something else that I have experienced during my time at university is the feeling of falling in love. Or maybe it was just a crush. It really is hard to be sure which is which when you have Asperger's. Anyway, in my first couple of years, there was a girl who I was crazy about.
No way, so it's going to be like...
I thought she was beautiful from the moment I first saw her. And when I learned how much we had in common, it seemed like it was meant to be. We became quite good friends, and we'd often talk about our common interests. But whenever I tried to express my feelings for her, I just froze up. I guess this is a problem that almost anyone can face, autistic or not. Nervousness is part of the course, I suppose. But if it's hard for a neurotypical person, just imagine how hard it is for an Aspie like me. I would picture myself telling her how I felt over and over in my head, but reality never reflects imagination, does it? For example, I could easily vision myself as a spy, just like James Bond. I could picture myself kicking the asses of the bad guys and saving the girl, but this isn't actually how it would go down at all. Name's Mann, Robert Mann. Now let her go. The real-life version of events would be very different. I would definitely do my best, but in reality I'm not spy material. I would completely fail at it. Let her go, the name's Mann, Robert Mann. Whenever I tried to ask Jenny if she would go out with me, it was exactly the same. I would keep planning when I was going to ask her out, then I'd picture her over in my mind over and over.
Hi, Robert.
I was wondering if you'd like to go out with me sometime.
Yes, okay.
Will you go out with me?
Yes, I'd love to.
I was wondering if you'd like to go out with me sometime.
Yeah, why not?
The same thing happened every time I planned to ask her out. While I was waiting for her to turn up, which seemed like an eternity each time, I would keep playing the images over and over in my head, and by the time she finally showed up, I was always too nervous to actually go through with it.
Hi, Robert.
Hi Jenny, there's something I've been meaning to ask you.
What is it?
Never mind. My constant failures to ask her out verbally left me with only one option. I decided to write down my question on a piece of paper and give the paper to her. I did so in the lecture, and after the lecture she pulled me to one side. Sadly, the outcome was not the one I was hoping for.
Robert, I like you, but only as a friend.
Okay. All my time admiring her and picturing myself asking her out to a positive response felt like it had been wasted. While I was undoubtedly relieved to finally have an answer, the response saddened me and sapped my confidence to an extent that I still haven't fully recovered. This wasn't my first negative experience with a girl, nor was it my last. Before Jenny, I had liked other girls, but I had never been successful in forming any kind of relationship with any of them. Out of a couple of girls I liked during my time at secondary school, one moved to another school and I never saw her again, and the other I just lost my attraction to over time. In both cases I never managed to express my feelings for them. There was another girl, however, who I managed to sort of express my feelings for from a distance. Sadly, she did not reciprocate, and due to a lack of understanding of love, I became slightly obsessed with her. At the time I was unaware of the implications of my attraction to her, though I have long since learned from my mistakes and now make sure I never repeat them. That experience, along with my experience with Jenny, however, did severely damage my confidence with regard to girls. Sure, most guys probably aren't that confident dealing with the opposite sex, but for me, and others like me, it is most assuredly worse. My difficulties with meeting and conversing with girls led me to attempt other methods of meeting people. For a while I tried out dating sites and also social networking sites such as Facebook and MySpace as tools for meeting someone. These, however, proved completely useless for the task at hand. proving to be little more than a waste of both time and money. My complete lack of success in meeting someone this way only damaged my confidence further. I only had any luck with one girl who agreed to meet me, but she wanted to meet me in her hometown. So I travelled by train, the first time I had ever been on a train by myself, an extremely hard thing to do. To meet her, only for her to not even bother turning up. Most people following an experience like this might just shrug it off and act unbothered by it, but for me it was painful. I spent the entire train journey home in tears, and it took some time after to stop feeling down. All my excitement about meeting the girl had been turned into a deep depression by a simple inconsiderate act. This isn't the only situation that can make me feel so hopelessly depressed either. Even something as simple as a bad day at work can sometimes be quite a painful experience for me, and at times, such as this, the only thing I can find solace in is some of my more childlike attributes. When I am feeling down, the thing that helps to cheer me up most is cuddling one of my many soft toy pigs. And a man at my age might be considered weird for still collecting, let alone cuddling soft toys, but while I may be 23 years old, I often feel like I am much younger. The experience with that girl was the last straw as far as dating sites are concerned, and I have since closed all accounts and quit trying to meet someone that way. In fact, I have so little confidence now that even though I really want to meet someone, I haven't actually made any attempts to meet anyone since. Maybe this is partly due to the fact that I'd much rather meet someone organically, however, so that I find someone who I truly gel with, rather than someone who just happens to be available. I really want to meet someone special after all. In my childhood, I did have such a special friend, and she was the closest thing I've ever been to having a girlfriend. When I moved away, I foolishly failed to keep in touch, and now I have to live with my mistake as much as it still haunts me. Anyway, the past is the past, and now I just have to hold out hope that I will meet someone hopefully sooner rather than later. Even if I were to actually meet someone special, however, actually maintaining a relationship would likely prove to be an immensely difficult task. The fact that people like me are unable to feel empathy and read the body language of others means that we often can't fully understand the feelings of others. And the inability to identify and respond to the emotions of a partner could prove to be a major handicap in a relationship. I suppose many of the difficulties posed by Aspergers do raise the question of whether us Aspergers are actually capable of feeling love in the way other people do. This doesn't eliminate my desire to meet someone soon though, and whenever I see other people together, kissing or holding hands, it really makes me feel down. Love, something that is taken for granted by so many people, seems constantly out of reach for me. My negative experience with girls have aggravated a number of other problems that I have to live with. Just as I constantly find myself unable to openly express my feelings toward girls I like, I also have considerable difficulty expressing other emotions even to people I am extremely familiar with. Thus, whenever I feel sad or down, I often keep it bottled up inside rather than letting it out like I really should do, and this creates a range of problems. Keeping negative emotions bottled up within me rather than expressing them often means that I feel down even when I have no real reason to. This can, and on several occasions has, led to some somewhat undesirable effects. Physical symptoms manifest themselves in the form of anxiety, stresses, gastric reflux, constipation, and a whole range of other effects. Also, as negative emotions build up inside, it is inevitable that sooner or later they will find a way out. Much like Ned Flanders in The Simpsons, I am a dormant volcano that is on the brink of erupting. Sooner or later, the negative emotion, particularly rage or anger, explodes outwardly, sometimes triggered by something relatively minor and insignificant, for example, a misunderstanding. This very thing has happened to me a couple of times in the past during my time at secondary school. At the time I was unaware of what exactly had happened and did not know how to deal with it. Even now I still have difficulty expressing such emotions openly, but I have learned to express myself much better in recent years, and now have ways of controlling my emotions so that such outbursts do not happen again. In spite of such negative issues that arrive due to Aspergers Syndrome, there are some definite positives that come from the condition as well. Over the years, many people with both Aspergers and Autism have displayed unique talents and abilities. While these people, often called savants, tend to be a minority, there are a number of Aspies who possess such abilities. I once read about an Aspie who could recite pi to 22,514 places, and I know someone personally who has quite a unique ability with numbers. My friend John also has Asperger's Syndrome, and he has a very impressive ability. John has the ability of instantly performing a particular equation in his head. You tell him any date ever, and he'll respond with exactly what day of the week it was, and also tell you what the morning the music chart was on that day. Not many people can do something like that. Not even I can. That's not to say I don't have some ability though. 21st of April 1987.
21st of April 1987. But the number one, I'm pretty sure in that day, it was Madonna, like Ila Bonita. She had two number ones in 1987, and the other one was Who's That Girl in July 1987. But this was her first number one in April, and it was in April 1987. And the 21st of April 1987 was a Tuesday. We can tell that because as we realised that, say for example, I found out that the 4th of March 1987, which my birthday is, was a Wednesday. And whenever the 4th of March is a Wednesday, the 21st of April is 1 weekday before that. So therefore, if the 4th of March is a Wednesday, then therefore the 21st of April is going to be a Tuesday. So therefore, it can always be 1 year ahead. Is always going to be 1 day difference, and the 21st of April is always going to be the day before it, and that is unaffected by leap years since they both fall after February as well. And like sort of there's loads of formulas to it as well, so I can tell you. And this is when you get to know the formulas, it is all fail-safe, and you can all guarantee it. So therefore, I believe that day was on a Tuesday.
My specialist subject is films, and this is where my ability lies. While I am certainly not a savant, I have a very good knowledge when it comes to films, particularly cinema box office takings. I can't remember the numbers as precisely like a savant would, but I do have a good memory in this area, and hopefully this ability may one day prove useful, making some positive come from my Asperger's.
Titanic.
Production budget $200 million, US opening weekend $28 million, US total $600 million, UK box office total £69.1 million, and global box office gross $1.8 billion.
Wow, that's incredible. Do you know about Casino Royale?
Casino Royale, production budget $150 million, US opening weekend $40 million, US total $167 million, UK opening... can't quite recall that one, but the total was £55 million and the global gross was $594 million. My ability to memorise so much box office information is a bit of a mystery to me really, as my memory in general isn't all that great, but I do try to utilise my ability as much as possible. Okay, nice to see you.
Take care, bye.
Bye. John is one of the few people I know who I can truly call a friend. Sure, I have other friends at university, but due to my difficulties with social situations and their ease with such interactions, I don't see that much of them, and many of them probably don't truly understand me, even though they have made efforts to try. With John, however, there is no effort needed. We both have Asperger's, and thus we are on the same wavelength, so to speak. We are both members of a social group of people with Asperger's that meets once a month for social activities. The social group is also held in Bangor, meaning that it is easily accessible and that the environment is generally quite pleasant. While we do often meet in pubs, a place that we normally avoid at all costs, the places we meet are generally small, quiet establishments where we don't have to worry much about loud noises or unruly behaviour. Activities we do include playing games like darts or ball, going for walks, going for bowling, going to the cinema and eating out at restaurants. The experiences I have had in this group have really been of great help to me. This isn't the only social experience I have had here in Bangor either. For a while I was a member of the Liberal Democrat Society. I have been a continuous member of Buffs, the filmmaking society, since I started university. I have made some great friends at Buffs, even though we haven't got as much filming done as I would like due to low attendance at meetings. Nonetheless, I am glad to be a member. I have certainly had my ups and downs at university, but the experiences I have had have helped to shape me into a far more independent individual and make me more prepared for the world than I was before. I wouldn't trade this for anything.